Lyonnaise, you said? Little heavy, isn't it? Little fatty, all those sausages. What do you think? (12:08).
So, a crisis. Insoluble problem, major crisis. Both stepmothers want their names on the wedding invitation. Catherine adores her stepmother, who more or less brought her up. She wants it on the invitation. She wants it, and the stepmother is not anticipating, which is understandable, since the mother is dead, not appearing next to Catherine's father, whereas my stepmother, whom I detest, is out of the question. Her name should be on the invitation, but my father won't have his name on it if hers isn't, unless Catherine's stepmother's name is left off, which is completely unacceptable. So I suggest that none of the parents' names should be on it. After all, we're not adolescents. We can announce the wedding and invite people ourselves. So Catherine screams her head off, arguing that that would be a slap in the face to her parents, who have paid through the nose for the reception, and particularly for her stepmother, who has gone to so much trouble when she isn't even her daughter. So I finally let myself be persuaded, totally against my better judgment, because she wore me down. And I finally agree that my stepmother, whom I detest, who's a complete bitch, should have her name on the invitation. So I telephoned my mother to warn her. Mother, I said, I've done everything I can to avoid this, but we have absolutely no choice. Colette's name has to be on the invitation. She says, well, if Colette's name is on the invitation, take mine off of it. I said, Mother, please, I beg you, don't make things more difficult. And she said, and how dare you suggest that my name is left to float around on a card on its own, as if I'm some abandoned woman below Colette who'll be attached to your father's name like a limpet. Mother, I've got friends waiting for me. I'm going to hang up, and we're going to discuss this tomorrow after a good night's sleep. And why is it I'm always an afterthought? What are you talking about, Mother? You're not always an afterthought. Of course I am. And when you say don't make things more difficult, what you're really saying is that everything's already been decided. Everything's already been cooked up behind my back. Everything's already been organized without me. Oh, good old Nadia. She'll agree to anything. And all this, she said, get this, in aid of an event, the importance of which I'm having some trouble grasping. Mother, I've got friends waiting for me. Oh, that's right. There's always somewhere better to go, isn't there? There's always someone more important than me. Goodbye. And she hung up. Catherine, who's sitting next to me, but who hadn't heard her side of the conversation, says, what does she say? I said, she just doesn't want her name on the invitation with Colette, which is understandable. That's not what I'm talking about. What does she say about the wedding? Nothing. You're lying. I'm not, Kathy, I promise. She just doesn't want her name on the invitation with Colette. You call her back, and you tell her that when your son is getting married, you rise above your vanity. Well, you could say the same thing to your stepmother. That's got nothing to do with it, Catherine shouted. It's me. I'm the one that's insisting her name's on it, the poor thing. She's tact personified. If she had any idea of the trouble this was causing, she'd be down on her knees begging for her name to be taken off that invitation. Now call your mother. So I called her again. By now, I'm in shreds. Catherine's listening in on the extension. Yvan, my mother says, up till now, you've decided to conduct your affairs in the most chaotic way imaginable. And just because out of the blue you've decided to embark on matrimony, I feel obliged to spend all afternoon and evening with your father, a man I haven't seen for 17 years and to whom I was hoping not to reveal my hip size and puffy cheeks, not to mention Colette, who, incidentally, according to Felix Parolari, I may now tell you has taken up bridge. My mother always played bridge. I can see all that can't be helped, but on the invitation, the one item that everyone is going to receive and examine, I insist on making a solo appearance. Catherine, who's listening in on the extension, shakes her head and screws her face up at me in disgust. Mother, why are you so selfish? I am not selfish. I am not selfish, Yvan. Don't you start on me, too. Don't you start like Madame Romero did this morning and tell me that I have a heart of stone, that everyone in our family has a heart of stone. That's what Madame Romero said this morning. She's gone completely insane, by the way. When I refused to raise her pay to 60 francs an hour cash, she had the gall to say that everyone in our family has a heart of stone, when she knows perfectly well about poor Andre's pacemaker. That's right, you haven't even bothered dropping him a line. Very funny. Everything's a big joke to you now, isn't it, Yvan? Well, I'm not the selfish one, Yvan. You've got a lot to learn about life, but you go, darling. Go ahead, go and see your precious friends.